long time, but by the very nature of you being something original, surely it becomes more and more difficult as you get older to keep making new statements.
All right, everyone, we are back, and we are Lost Futures, a Mark Fisher podcast, and I'm Steve.
And I'm Marlo.
And today we are joined once again for his third episode with us, John Kenney, resident The Fall expert.
Yeah, resident guy that likes a lot of the bands Mark Fisher writes about.
Yeah, that's you.
It's a John episode, everybody. It is a Patreon episode. Congratulations for giving us money, because it's paying off this time with John.
We approached John after we did the last episode on Roger Waters, and we're like, hey John, we see you're wearing the Fall shirt around. Want to do an episode about the Fall because you love them and we don't know anything about them? And you said yes.
Yeah,
so
of course.
right now, he's wearing the Fall shirt that
Live at the Witch's Trial.
which you were explaining before the episode, their first record.
Right.
So, pretty cool shirt. So, let's get into it. How'd you find out about the Fall? You seem a little young to be an original fan.
Yeah, I got into them around 2008 or 2009 when I was getting into a lot of other post-punk music, like the Television Personalities, Joy Division, The Smiths, all that UK stuff. And I think actually the first Fall song I heard was I Am Damo Suzuki, which I'd heard at a similar time to when I was getting into a lot of krautrock like Can and stuff, and I just thought it was very cool. I remember the first time I heard it was at a party, and I was pretty messed up when I heard it. But I was like really taken in by the drums and just the whole vibe of the track. And pretty soon after that, I checked out the album that it was from. There's This Nation's Saving Grace, which is one of their more commercially viable releases. I got into that and then kind of worked backwards to Grotesque and Hex Induction Hour and all that stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned I Am Damo Suzuki, which is one of the entry points for me as we share a love of the band Can. Marlo loves the band Can.
I enjoy the band Can when someone plays the band Can.
Yeah. And
I go, it's Can.
I think that's a good way to frame sort of, it's interesting you say that you got into them through them, because I was also fascinated with bands that referenced other bands that I knew, because it'd be like, oh man, whoever wrote this song is into the same stuff as I'm into.
It's like hip-hop.
Yeah.
Except not hip-hop, a different genre, but they're also doing that.
There's a lot of self-referential stuff, especially in the music and in the styles or lyrics, I guess, and I Am Damo Suzuki is a perfect example of that.
Right.
The song that we played at the top of the episode.
Is that a kazoo in that song?
It absolutely is a kazoo, yeah.
Okay, so that song was The New Face in Hell, and the kazoo is a reference. And this is sort of what we're going to get into with it. The 1968 film PJ with George Peppard starring as a private eye set up by a client played by Raymond Burr was called New Face in Hell in the UK. Black heard broadcasting from the Fall online forum members, okay, this is annotated, the Fall, the website, said the kazoo part is an attempt to imitate the theme song from that song. PJ. So
we'll include the links to the annotated site.
That was not corroborated, but it's similar enough.
Right.
So I think that's a good place to start with our discussion. Is there's a sort of this thing that Mark Fisher and Jameson talk about, which is pastiche. That there's all these references that are built within the Fall song that make them seem like literary objects in a way. Mm-hmm. And in The Weird and the Eerie, Fisher compares their songs to James Joyce, Lovecraft, a whole bunch of literary artists who he says are weird, and says that the Fall are weird and grotesque, or grotesque, which is a subsection of the weird.
Per Fisher's general hierarchy of his definitions.
So I think there's something to be said about the literary quality of it, which also I'm drawn to, and I think you're drawn to, John.
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely would agree with them having that like kind of literary characteristic where like a lot of the songs feel like short stories. Basically, like I think almost every track they have is just like a constant stream of references, and you, the listener, kind of get to choose how much you engage with that, like while you're listening to their music, because I don't think they're a band where you have to know every reference or like even the majority of the references to be able to really get into it. And I think one of the cool things about The Fall that got me into them is like you could listen to a track like 20 times and have nothing really jump out to you, and then the 21st time you'll listen to it and you'll like suddenly hear something that will make you think of something else, and it'll kind of like unlock the song for you and you'll get really into it.
Marlo was saying earlier, as a new listener, they all sounded the same to you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll give the songs another 19 listens and see how that goes.
Well, John Peel, the radio DJ, who was a big champion of The Fall, actually, he has a famous quote about them that, The Fall are always different, always the same. Like they're always changing, but they also always sound like The Fall.
Certainly his vocal styles lend itself to kind of this blurred quality of the songs where he's talk singing, and you can sort of have one song on and not immediately know which song it is if you're not entirely familiar with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just him talk singing over guitar and drums.
It's like at once very distinctive, but also sounds like a more anonymized Lou Reed. Like it kind of has this like generic Lou Reed quality to it to me, but like also it does sound distinctive enough that it gives it this consistency over the songs.
So here's the I Am Damo Suzuki.
Generous of lyric, Jehovah's Witness stands in Cogni marketplace. Drums come in, when the drums come in fast, when the drums.
In the lunch hour and at work,
What were you doing?
I was a shipping clerk, and a docker, then a shipping clerk. 4 years, so I used to write in my lunchtime. But, it wasn't an ambition. It was very strange. So when The Fall were formed, really, it's, must have been the only group, gave up sex, drugs, and women for music.